Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. So we have this article that says banks will prefer Cardano over BTC. It is written by an employee from Cardano that used to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a big investment bank. But so it is going to be very biased because he was just hired for his position at the end of September. Obviously, if you want my opinion, at least right now, obviously that's not true at this point because the institutions have made their decision and they've actually invested in Bitcoin. But Cardano does have some of the technologies. Charles does have some connections in the financial world, but I think they're really overstating it. So Frederick Jagard points out a lot of banks are interested to hold Cardano. ADA has the same data protection features as Bitcoin, so financial institutions could easily hold ADA instead of Bitcoin. But it doesn't have the liquidity and it's not as popular right now. And those two things are very hard to gain. The CEO of the Cardano Foundation, Frederick Gerard, has participated in the 113th edition of the podcast, The Cardano Effect. Gerard was hired to take his position at the end of September. Previously, he was head of digital finance for the giant PwC. In the podcast, he talked about ADA adoption, privacy, leadership, and the future of Cardano. Starting the program with a user question about obstacles and use cases that Cardano can solve, Jagard said, if you want the short answer, I'd like to focus on some very complex problems, the highly regulated problems, the problems that don't cross the table easily, where identity is very important. That revolves around financial services, insurance, supply chain tracking, finance education, and a whole academic angle is important. So a lot of use cases. He's obviously arguing for the ADA standard instead of BTC. Obviously, ADA is not the index coin. It has a long way to go if it ever really wants to be the index coin. Yes, it is more transmissible than Bitcoin, but that's really not why people have Bitcoin. They hold Bitcoin because it's noticeable everywhere, and it has liquidity. And with so many big institutions already holding it, it's very hard to overtake it. So the CEO of Cardano Foundation, which is Charles, the CEO of the Cardano Foundation positively stated that his connections in the banking sector indicate that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology are here to stay. Gregard said he is reviewing and complying the many alliances that Cardano has throughout the world. In that sense, he sees a clear path for the adoption of ADA at the institutional level. That would be great if we got some institutional investment in Cardano. I'm still waiting for that to happen. If we see a lot of institutional adoption into Cardano, then I might change my mind. But right now, Bitcoin by far number one. Talking about the obstacles that have prevented Cardano's adoption from accelerating, Gregard added, on the adoption of ADA by banking institutions, I already know some banks that can do this, but I'm not allowed to mention their names because they think there may be some regulatory turmoil. I need to agree with them before I disclose them. That's not going to be for a long time because they've only really okayed Bitcoin and Ethereum. They haven't really okayed Cardano yet, and I think it's going to be a while before they do that. And even if they do that, it's going to be very hard to basically remove the incumbent right now. Expanding on the previous post, the CEO of Cardano Foundation spoke about the privacy features that ADA must have in order to be adopted by banking institutions. Regard believes that between Bitcoin and ADA, there's one-to-one parity in terms of privacy. The only difference between the cryptocurrencies, the executive says, is the consensus protocol. Obviously, I prefer Cardano's consensus over Bitcoin's consensus, but there's such huge liquidity differences and what big banks are actually holding which coin, or big institutions. Like Fidelity, I think, will eventually get into BTC, and they're definitely going to start with BTC and not Cardano, so there's a lot of things to work over. Finally, the executive spoke about the future of Cardano Foundation and its position in the Cardano ecosystem. Regard said there will be further development of the technical capabilities of Cardano Foundation to serve as a support to IOH chain, the development and implementation of a subsequent platform. There is Goguen, Basho, and Voltaire. Obviously, those are things we're actually looking towards. The Cardano Foundation will also support developers who are using the platform when introducing smart contracts to other new Cardano features. Obviously, in terms of development, it definitely has an advantage over Bitcoin. So the thing is, this guy, the new head of the Cardano Foundation, because they kicked out the old head. This guy has a lot of banking connections, and he's going to tap those banking connections to see if institutions are actually interested in holding Cardano. There's obviously regulatory hurdles in the way for Cardano. Once those are cleared, maybe we can see what money flows into Cardano, especially if there's projects in Cardano. So there's hope, but this article, banks are interested in holding ADA instead of Bitcoin, very premature. So that is the news for today. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.